A while back I was looking through a cookbook and I found a picture of a really neat looking cheese board on a marble cutting board. I thought it would be a lot of fun to do one for the doll's house, so this week we're starting with the marble cutting board and then we'll go on to the cheeses in future weeks. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy this is to make. Alright, we are going to start making our marble by getting our 4 colors of clay. 3 of these colors are my standard clay mix for marble, and the 4th one is kind of an experiment, so I'm really hoping it works. Our largest quantity of clay is a white translucent mix. This is 2 parts white to 1 part translucent. Brand doesn't matter on these clays. If you don't add translucent, I find my white just looks too heavy in the stone. It doesn't look right. Next, we have gray. And it wasn't too many years ago, I had to mix gray every time I wanted to use it. Now, I can get Sculpey in elephant gray. And elephant gray is so much easier than mixing my own gray. The next down is Vimo Pearl. This is a pearl white. It just adds just a tiny bit of shimmer to my white. It's not very noticeable, and you can see there's not much of it here. And then I always add some black. And this black is special. I have this package of Primo Accents in Twinkle Twinkle. I bought this a while back, and I've been looking for a reason to use it because it's black with little silver and gold speckles in it. And I thought, for marble, this will be perfect. So I've made my canes, get them a little bit longer because they're not quite long enough, I don't think. And this black, I don't care if it breaks. I'm going to make it as long as the others. If it breaks, that's fine. I don't want solid lines. And you'll see this is going to be a really neat design through our marble. Push those together and make this just a little bit longer. And now we're going to bunch these together and we are going to twist. And we're going to roll it. And it's gotten warm sitting under the light, so it's not wanting to stick together. Put it in my hands, roll it together. Twist it some more. We're not trying to blend the colors, we're trying to marble them, trying to get them striped into interesting designs. They will blend a little. Alright, now I'm going to cut this down and I'm going to work with part of it at a time. Alright, so I've taken my small end here and I'm going to roll it out. And now I'm going to flatten this and I am going to run it through my pasta machine on the very thickest setting. First long ways, then fold it and go crosswise. And so we're getting some really interesting looks here. I'm going to roll this up again. Squeeze it together so you don't have air. I can see a little bit of sparkle from that twinkle. I think that's going to be really, really neat. You can feel, if it feels soft and like it's coming apart inside, it means you have an air bubble, and you'll need to push on that spot a lot harder until it quits trying to break apart. Although a few breaks in your marble slab would not be the end of the world. Keep twisting. I think this is probably going to do what we want. Through my pasta machine. That's got some really cool looks. I like that. I'm going to go just a little smaller. I'm going to go to the second setting because I want it a little thinner. There. Now, we need to cut our square. And I need to reach my ruler. Hold on just a second. Oh, there's my good ruler. Sorry about that, guys. I left my ruler on my desk. All right, so I'm going to attempt to cut this. I want about 2 inches long. It's about how much clay I have out. Get my ruler so I'm not running into it. I like this ruler because I can see through it. Now one thing, be sure if you use a plastic ruler that when you're done, you wipe it down with a wet wipe. Because if you don't, now we're going to 1.25 inches wide. I want a nice big board. There. Now I will very carefully transfer this to my baking surface and make sure it's flat. And actually I am going to, I like the way this looks. I'm going to bake these. I'm not sure what I'll use them for, but I really like them. I'm going to bake this at 250 degrees for probably about, since there's translucent in there, this is a primo translucent, so it can go a little warmer. Probably about 10 minutes at 250. And when I come back, I'll show you what this looks like. All right, so these are baked and completely cooled. And something I didn't mention before I baked them is the first thing I did, I took them out of the oven and put them straight on my tile and made sure they were flat to the tile. Since I bake on a paper plate, I felt it was important to get it on the tile and flattened in case it had bowed at all in the oven. And they turn out really nice. Now, a couple of things. We've got a couple of rough edges. So I have just a regular emery board here. I'm going to, and this is optional. And by the way, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but every once in a while, I see a little sparkle from that twinkle. Now, this looks fine the way it is. But stone is usually polished, and I took this little piece I cut off the side and I polished it. And I'm going to show you the steps, but it takes a long time. I'm not going to do the whole thing on camera because this takes quite a while. I actually sat down and did this while watching a YouTube video. What I have is one of these multi-surface nail buffing tools. I got this one at Dollar Tree quite a while ago. I've used it a lot. A new one would probably do a better job, but this is what I've got. So I don't use the number 1 on this. It's too hard to use, and besides that, I think it's too coarse. It's almost like this, or maybe even a little rougher, and I don't want to chop this up. So what I do, I hold this in my hand, and I try to go lengthwise with my, and I go with number, it starts with the smallest number 2 in this case, and I buff for a while, and then I go to number 3, and I buff. And this is still not set up, so it's still a little bit flexible, so I need to be careful. And also, if it's too hard, you might snap it if you try to bend it, so be careful when you're doing this. And this is optional. And then you just go around the buffing tool, and I spent most of my time on the finest side, but I went through all of them. But I would say sit down, pull up a couple of videos on YouTube, sit down, and just buff. And buff and buff and buff and buff. And even just that short period of time, I can feel a difference, but it's not as smooth as the one I did for quite a while. And it's a subtle shine, it's a sheen to it, not really a shine. I think the camera might be picking that up as opposed to this one, but it looks really neat. So that's how we make our marble cutting board. Next time, we'll work on some cheese to go on our board.